What's going on, everyone? Thanks for checking out Lemacks Media. So today we're going to be talking about, why schema markup matters, the different kinds of markup, um, a couple different variations of where they can be placed, what they're useful for, and what it really means to your business and to your website. Um, that getting it right the first time, or at least early on, really matters. So as you can see right here, I've got the article open that I wrote on August 4th. And what you see right here in this image is the snippet from Google search of just searching for Google as a company. You get obviously their domain, you get a little bit of information snippet from Wikipedia, and then you get general information about the company, the CEO, when it was founded, et cetera, et cetera. And then right here, this is the important part, the profiles area. Now, various businesses, they have different profiles. Some of them might not have a LinkedIn profile. Some of them might not have a YouTube channel. A lot of people don't have Twitter and Google Plus. So the number of profiles that appear there isn't as important as having them there at all, because this is something that people can find and search either by finding your business directly or indirectly through some sort of keyword. So the first couple things to go over is the fact that all of these companies, specifically Google, Facebook, and Twitter, make the information readily available. As you can see, I've linked all of them right here in the article, so I'll go ahead and open all of them so you can see that. And first one right here, so this is schema.org. Schema.org is basically the standard. It's used by Google, Bing, Yahoo, and various others to basically aggregate important information about your business or about your website or about your YouTube channel, so on and so forth. So this is really the most important resource. Obviously, you have the documentation tab right here, and this tells you, everything. You can go into here and you can say, let's see here. Let's do schemas, organization. Of course, it doesn't want to load very fast. And then in here it tells you, the different properties that you can put in there, what, the description of the property itself, so what they expect, what will be displayed, what will not be displayed. And I mean, it's all there, it's all readily available. So having this information readily available tells you that, a lot of developers, a lot of programmers, a lot of quote unquote website designers and developers don't really take the time to do this right, especially for somebody who's either not paying them at all or who is doing it, on a budget. So this is something that you'll have to refer back to or find somebody who's actually knowledgeable on when you're having your website built. Same thing with the Open Graph information. So this is what, an Open Graph snippet would look like. It's what, Facebook displays as information for your website. So you have basically what is your standard properties. So if, for example, you were to write a blog post and the blog post doesn't have a featured image, Facebook would use the OG properties, the Open Graph properties, to just use your standard image, which would typically be your logo or something like that. Or if it's for a person or personality, it might be like their professional headshot. And that's kind of what this markup is down here. And we'll kind of get into that too in a second. And then you have Twitter cards. And the biggest thing that I explain in the using schema markup article, I get people all the time who say, well, I don't use Twitter, or I don't use Facebook. And that's all fine and dandy. You don't have to use it personally, and your business doesn't even have to be listed on either one of those. But the thing is, having this information correct means that when you or when your content or when your business or when your website or when a product is shared from your website, it will actually appear correctly in those social media environments. So you're not looking like this, where this guy right here, I rendered this, image right here, this card preview. See, he's missing any sort of brand image at all. There's no product image, there's no brand image, anything like. It's just the placeholder SVG image right there. And then the second thing you'll notice is that right here, the description is just the heading repeated. And I mean, these are simple things to fix and address, and we'll get into that here in a second as well. See, this is what Lemacks Media's card preview looks like. Obviously, there's significantly more information there. And this has actually changed since the writing of this article. I've decided to kind of forego the lettermark in the images and just use the logo icon itself, which, and that's another thing that you'll have to make a determination of, on your own. The reason why I removed the lettermark, when you go to try and boost a post on Facebook, advertising and things like that, when you have content that has, or an image that contains a lot of writing, it has to go through an approval process because they feel that, and this, I mean, it actually makes sense and it's actually a good thing on Facebook's part for actually doing this, but they want to ensure that your ad does as well as possible. Generally speaking, images that have a large majority of text content in them do not perform as well. So they tend to not want to, or clients, customers, potential clients, subscribers, anything along those lines, they tend to not be drawn to those kind of ads. So you're just kind of throwing your ad money at something and not seeing any return on it. So Facebook does employ a manual review process. So something like this, I could submit for a manual review, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to make it through because they're just going to see that it's my business name. But that doesn't mean that the ad is going to perform well. So you kind of got to experiment a little bit. Obviously, if your company's logo is your brand name and it's a lot of font and text work and things like that, then that's something that you'll have to overcome in time. So, as I stated in the article as well, there's testing tools for all of these different markups. So let me close out these tabs real quick and open these ones up. So you have your Google Structured Data Testing Tool, Facebook Sharing Debugger for Open Graph Data, and Twitter Card Validator. So right off the bat, you come into here, the Structured Data Testing Tool for Google. We'll put in a URL. Obviously, I'll just put mine in. And immediately you're going to notice that there's going to be 2 categories. First one you see right here, corporation, 0 errors, 0 warnings, 1 item. And when you click on this, it's going to expand out and it's going to give you all the data that was found within the markup. So you have the type is corporation markup, ID is the website URL, the legal name, Lemacks Media, description of the business. And this is what appears in search engines and search in general. As you can see, clicking on that actually takes you to where that markup is located. And as you can see, this is in a script, and this is actually in the footer of my site. So it stays in all the pages, but it's also nice because with it being in the footer, it's not going to impede the loading time of the site, and that's something that I'll go over in another video in depth. Information that you should put in the header versus what you should put in the footer, things like that. So that's the corporation one, and then you also have website, and this is kind of a generic one. Most people typically only have like the type, website, ID, maybe a description. They don't typically have this other information here. This is all stuff that relates to search. So eventually Google will find this and realize that within Google search, when a user finds my site, they should be able to search within the site from Google search. So you'll see the business will pop up, Lemacks Media will pop up. Below that, you'll have a search bar. You can type in whatever you're searching for, a word or a product or page or article, hit enter, and it'll bring you into the website and bring you to the pertinent information within the website, as if it was a search on the website itself. So that's that. Come into the Facebook debugger, do the same thing. You hit debug. And first thing that you'll see right here is the time scraped. So this is like the crawl time, essentially. If you notice the information in the preview is incorrect, if you hit scrape again, it'll look for it again and then make any alterations as it sees fit or needs to. And then down here you have all the information that it found from within the markup. So this is my app ID for my API stuff, which is meaningless to the outside world. The URL, the Open Graph URL, the type, it considers it an article. I could, in the template for a page, make it just be website, but it's easier for all of the content all to be marked the same. That way the structure looks the same, and it's basically, the same across basically all templates. It's just contained in one area. This is contained within the functions file of my site. So it's just easier to do it that way in a lot of cases. Later on down the line, I might change it. And that's perfectly acceptable to do. Then of course you got the description, you have the default image. So this is the image that will always appear anytime I post something that doesn't have a default image within the content. So if it's an article that I don't have a default image for, it's just going to display this one. The default image will override this. For the title, the default title of the article will override this, and the description, the default description for the article will override that. So that's Facebook, and then Twitter. And of course, it's not one to render correctly. There we go. So here's what you get. And sometimes that does happen where it doesn't want to render correctly right off the bat. It's not a big deal. It might have been looking for specifically to be the smaller card format where it was just the side image rather than the large image. And that's right here contained in my header. So you see summary large image, and it could just be a summary image, which would be that small off to the side content. So those are the 3 testing tools. Those are all linked in the article, so I'll leave that to you guys to go and test your content yourself. Now we'll kind of talk a little bit about how to alter it and where to alter it within your site itself. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, obviously, is identify the type of access that you have. If you have a Squarespace or something along those lines, there's a good chance that you're not going to have the actual raw access, like FTP access or SFTP, SSH, anything like that, to the actual PHP file or HTML file itself. You're probably going to be given like a template editor, which is typically called like a WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get editor. And within that, it gets a little bit more complicated, especially because you don't want it to be visible in plain text. It's not something that's aesthetically pleasing. It's not anything that needs to be displayed for users on the front end, so you wouldn't want to do that. I'm sure that they probably have theme dependencies and things like that you can go in there and you can actually search for somebody who has a theme that actually has markup set up correctly. And it's also going to matter specifically too, if you're an e-commerce site versus if you're a news platform, or if it's just an informational site about a business where there's no products being shared or articles being written or anything like that. So you'll want to actually identify that you have the right type of markup for your site, not just that you have markup at all. So going to that, so I identified that I have SFTP access and I have my PHP editor tool right here. So anything that I do right here is going to update my site in real time. These files come directly from my server via SFTP. Every time I move the cursor, anything that I type in here is going to immediately change the content within my website. So I will not be making any changes to this, just so you guys know. But obviously, my cursor follows me around. So first of all, here in the header, obviously header PHP. First thing you're going to see, first meta tags, Twitter card, content summary large. It's a site. At Lemacks Media is the username for Lemacks Media's Twitter account. Twitter creator, me. The Twitter title. So this is the title, of the business, the description or title information, description of the business, all the way down here, and then your default Twitter image is right here. And this does not have to be contained in the header. This could be contained in the footer. It could also be written as a PHP function as well. It just depends on where you want it, how you want it to be delivered, things like that. I did all three just to kind of give you an idea. The function actually right here for the Facebook data, this actually, as you can see, there you go, function insert Facebook into the head. So when this is actually rendered, when you actually load the site, this is actually going to be inserted in the header on its own. So you'll see the meta properties right here, all the OG data. All of this is going to be displayed in the header for Facebook, for Google, for whoever is crawling and indexing the site to pull those properties. And then, of course, I have my actual schema markup scripts. These are JSON, basically JavaScript scripts. It's just, this obviously tells you what type it is. This first one right here tells you that it's a website, gives you that website information, and this is what you saw in that second card that I showed. And then this right here is the corporation information, and this is what eventually, and this takes about 4 weeks, this is what will eventually populate the search information that's in like this image like Google has right here. So it'll populate all of this information in the search card about Lemacks Media, including the social profiles. And that's what this same as means. So it's telling Google that LemacksMedia.com is the same as this, or I'm sorry, this is the founder stuff. Yeah, founder. Come down here. So this is the corporation, same as right here. So it's the same as Lemacks Media. It's the same as Twitter.com/Lemacks Media. It's the same as LinkedIn/company/Lemacks Media, so on and so forth. So obviously a couple of things, the YouTube channel and the Google Plus page, once they reach their thresholds for followers and content and lifetime, it's like 30 days that the channel has to be around with 100 followers. For Google Plus, it has to be 30 days and have 10 followers. And after that, you can actually request your branded URL. Prior to that, you're stuck with these crazy, basically random strings. But the nice thing is that these will actually redirect later on in the future. So if I completely forget about this 2 years from now and I have branded URLs, it's still going to redirect to the correct place anyways. It's still going to link to the correct profile. So it's not that big of a deal. But this is actually always contained within the footer because I specifically put it in the footer, and I didn't create a function or anything like that that said to put it in the header. So when the site renders, it's going to load the header, any additional scripts like the tracking script for Google Analytics, things like that. Then it's going to load the body of the page or the article, and then it's going to load the footer. And there's also asynchronously ways to do that. that's another thing that we're not going to get into right now because that's a little bit too complicated for what we're going over. But just the importance of having the markup, knowing that there are multiple different locations, not just to put it, but also to look for it. So if you find that information about your business is incorrect in your markup, you'll need to identify where it originated from. And typically those are going to be the three places. They're either going to be in the theme or the site's header footer, or the theme or the site's functions file, or even potentially, depending on the platform that you're using, it might be like a function file for a plugin. So you'll just kind of have to figure it out on the fly. These are just the three fundamental places to always kind of generally look. But with that being said, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know. Shoot me an email, message me. We've got the contact form on the website. You can comment down below. Just let me know, what kind of questions you guys have, how I determined what kind of data that I used, things like that. All of those questions, I'm more than happy to answer for you guys. I'm not, trying to be secretive about this. As you guys know, Lemacks Media, our premise is basically, essentially to be transparent. So, like I said, let me know if you guys have any questions, and we'll see you next video.